Hi everyone, welcome to the AI Revenue Engine Masterclass Series. Today's topic is Design AI Workflows that Deliver Business Results, where adoption meets execution. While AI continues to dominate conversations in boardrooms and leadership meetings, I believe one of the most important discussions is not about the technology itself, it's about how work gets done. I'm Bhuva Shakti, an AI adoption and automation advisor. I help companies use AI to grow revenue with less friction by improving workflows, operations, governance, and decision making. My work sits at the intersection of strategy, execution, and organizational transformation. Over the past 3 decades, I have worked across Wall Street institutions, technology companies, startups, nonprofits, and global ecosystems. During that time, I have seen organizations invest millions into transformation programs, expecting technology to solve operational challenges. Sometimes it did, many times it did not. One lesson I have learned repeatedly is that organizations rarely fail because the technology fails. More often, they fail because workflows, processes, accountability structures, and operating models fail to evolve alongside the technology. The technology may be functioning perfectly while the organization struggles to capture value. Today, we'll explore how workflow design connects AI adoption to business execution. We will discuss why workflow design matters, where operational friction exists, how leaders can improve adoption, and what it takes to build workflows that create measurable outcomes. A professional services firm invested more than 250K in AI productivity tools, expecting significant efficiency gains. 6 months later, adoption remained below 35%, and employees continued relying on legacy processes. After redesigning workflows, clarifying ownership, and simplifying approvals, adoption increased to 82%, and project turnaround times improved by 21%. We'll focus on 5 themes today. AI follows workflows, workflows drive outcomes, adoption requires execution, leaders enable change, and finally, results require alignment. Now, why isn't technology the bottleneck? One of the misconceptions about AI is the belief that successful implementation automatically leads to successful transformation. In reality, implementation is often the easiest part of the journey. Capturing value is much harder. Throughout my career, I have observed that organizations frequently spend months evaluating vendors, comparing capabilities, and selecting technology solutions, yet they spend far less time discussing how decisions will change, how responsibilities will shift, and how workflows will evolve. When workflows remain unchanged, employees naturally revert to familiar behaviors. They continue using old spreadsheets, legacy processes, manual approvals, and workarounds because those habits feel safer and more predictable. Another common challenge is ownership. Many transformation initiatives involve multiple departments, but accountability for outcomes is often unclear. When ownership becomes fragmented, decision making slows and adoption becomes inconsistent. Organizations that achieve meaningful results recognize that AI is not primarily a technology initiative, it is a business initiative supported by technology. The organizations that win focus on execution, accountability, and operational alignment. A sales organization implemented AI driven lead scoring to improve conversion rates. The technology accurately identified high value opportunities, but sales teams continued using personal spreadsheets and legacy prioritization methods. After leadership standardized workflows and assigned ownership, conversion rates increased by 15%, and sales forecasting became significantly more accurate. Now, what's the hidden cost of workflow friction? One of the most overlooked barriers to business performance is workflow friction. Friction exists whenever work moves slower than it should because of unnecessary complexity, unclear responsibilities, or inefficient processes. In many organizations, friction becomes normalized. Teams accept delays, duplicate work, excessive approvals, and communication breakdowns as part of daily operations. Over time, these inefficiencies become embedded in the culture. AI often exposes workflow friction rather than eliminating it. Leaders expect technology to accelerate performance, but instead they discover bottlenecks that were hidden within existing processes. The technology simply makes those weaknesses more visible. Workflow friction also affects employee experience. When employees face unclear processes or inconsistent expectations, productivity declines and frustration increases. This can have a direct impact on adoption because people are less willing to embrace change when operational challenges remain unsolved. In my experience, organizations often achieve meaningful performance improvements by reducing workflow friction before introducing additional technology. Simplifying how work gets done creates value regardless of which technology platform is ultimately selected. A logistics company planned to invest in AI forecasting tools to improve delivery performance. During workflow analysis, leadership discovered that approval bottlenecks were responsible for most delays. By reducing approval steps and clarifying responsibilities, delivery times improved by 18% before any new technology was implemented. Now, how do you design before you automate? One of the most expensive mistakes organizations make is automating inefficient processes. Automation can increase speed, but it can also accelerate waste, confusion, and operational friction when workflows are poorly designed. Before introducing AI, leaders should understand how work currently moves through the organization. Where do delays occur? Which approvals create bottlenecks? Which handoffs add little value? Which decisions take longer than necessary? These questions often reveal opportunities for improvement. I often tell leaders that automation is not a substitute for process design. If a workflow is broken, automation usually makes the problem more visible rather than solving it. Organizations that automate poor processes often become frustrated because expected outcomes fail to materialize. High performing organizations take a different approach. They start by simplifying workflows, eliminating unnecessary complexity, clarify accountability, and standardize critical activities before introducing automation. This creates a stronger foundation for adoption and execution. The objective is not simply to move faster, the objective is to create better outcomes. When effective workflow design and capable technology work together, organizations are far more likely to achieve measurable business results. A manufacturing company implemented predictive maintenance technology, expecting to reduce equipment downtime. Initial results were limited because maintenance procedures varied significantly across locations. After standardizing workflows and responsibilities, downtime decreased by 22% and maintenance planning became more consistent across the organization. Now, how can adoption meet execution? One of the biggest mistakes organizations make is assuming adoption occurs once employees start using a new system. Usage is not the same as adoption. Adoption occurs when new behaviors become part of how work is consistently performed across the organization. Throughout my career, I have seen organizations achieve impressive implementation metrics while failing to generate meaningful business results. Employees attended training, logged into systems, and completed required tasks, yet decision making, workflows, and performance remained largely unchanged. Successful adoption occurs when leaders connect technology to business objectives and clearly explain why change matters. Employees are more likely to embrace new workflows when they understand how those changes improve outcomes for customers, for teams, and for the organization. Managers play an essentially important role. Employees pay close attention to what managers reinforce, measure, and reward. If managers continue supporting legacy behaviors, adoption slows regardless of how effective the technology may be. Organizations that achieve lasting results align leadership expectations, workflow design, accountability, communication, and performance management. When adoption and execution work together, business value becomes measurable and sustainable. A healthcare provider implemented AI powered workforce scheduling tools that improved forecasting accuracy by 34%. Despite the improved technology, managers continued relying on manual workflows and scheduling methods. After integrating new workflows into performance expectations and leadership reviews, adoption increased from 48% to 87%, while staffing efficiency improved significantly. Now, how can we build workflows that scale? Designing a workflow that works today is very different from designing a workflow that continues working as the organization grows. Many companies build processes around current needs without considering future complexity. As organizations expand, workflow weaknesses become more visible. Additional customers, employees, products, locations, and regulatory requirements introduce complexity that can overwhelm inconsistent processes. Scalable workflows create consistency without eliminating flexibility. They establish clear expectations while allowing teams to adapt to changing business conditions. This balance becomes increasingly important as organizations mature. Repeatability also improves onboarding and knowledge transfer. New employees can become productive faster when workflows are documented, standardized, and supported by clear accountability structures. In my experience, organizations that build workflows for scale often outperform organizations that continuously rely on heroic efforts from individual employees. Sustainable growth requires operational discipline, not operational firefighting. A consulting firm preparing for expansion into 3 new markets recognized that project delivery processes varied significantly between teams. After standardizing workflows and establishing common operating procedures, project cycle times improved by 17%, client satisfaction increased, and expansion efforts became significantly easier to manage. Now, what's the AIRE methodology? Over the years, I noticed a recurring pattern across organizations. Different industries, different technologies, and different leadership teams, but they often faced remarkably similar challenges. They invested in technology, but struggled to connect those investments to measurable business outcomes. This observation led me to develop the AI revenue engine, or AIRE methodology. Rather than focusing exclusively on technology, the methodology helps leaders evaluate whether initiatives contribute to meaningful business objectives. The first pillar is revenue growth. Organizations should assess whether workflow improvements help attract customers, improve customer experiences, strengthen sales effectiveness, or create new growth opportunities. growth remains one of the clearest indicators of business success. The second pillar is smart operations. This focuses on reducing friction, improving efficiency, strengthening decision making, and creating workflows that support execution. Operational excellence often becomes one of the fastest ways to generate measurable value from AI investments. The third pillar is business agility. Organizations need the ability to adopt, respond, and scale as conditions change. When revenue growth, smart operations, and business agility work together, organizations are better positioned to achieve sustainable business results. A software company identified more than 20 potential AI initiatives across sales, operations, and customer support. Using the AIRE methodology, leadership prioritized 6 high-impact workflow improvements. Within 12 months, implementation efforts were streamlined, operational efficiency improved, and leadership gained greater visibility into business performance. Now, here are the key takeaways from our session today. We spoke about designing AI workflows that deliver business outcomes. Especially, this is where adoption meets execution. Before we close, let's revisit the most important lessons from today's discussion. First, AI does not replace workflow design. Technology supports execution, but workflows determine how work moves through an organization and ultimately influence business performance. Second, workflow friction is often a bigger obstacle than technology limitations. Organizations that simplify processes, clarify ownership, and improve decision making frequently unlock value before introducing additional automation. Third, adoption and execution must work together. Employees need clear expectations, leadership support, and accountability and confidence in the workflows they are being asked to follow. Adoption without execution rarely creates meaningful business outcomes. Fourth takeaway, organizations that design workflows are essentially positioning themselves for long term success. Standardization, repeatability, and operational discipline become increasingly important as organizations grow and complexity increases. Finally, if there is one message I want you to remember, it is this: technology may accelerate work, but workflows determine results. Leaders who align people, process, technology, and business objectives are far more likely to achieve measurable business outcomes. An AI operations team planned to automate several business processes using AI. Before implementation, leadership conducted a workflow review and identified multiple bottlenecks, duplicate approvals, and unclear responsibilities. After redesigning workflows first, processing times improved by 26%. Employee adoption increased significantly, and the organization achieved stronger results than originally projected. Thanks everyone for joining me for your AI growth journey. My work focuses on helping organizations use AI to grow revenue with less friction through workflow design, operational transformation, adoption, governance, and organizational readiness. Through advisory engagements, executive workshops, masterclasses, and fractional COO support, I help leaders move from AI experimentation to measurable business outcomes. The AIRE methodology was developed from decades of experience helping organizations connect technology investments to revenue growth, smart operations, and business agility. I look forward to continuing the conversation and supporting leaders navigating AI adoption and enterprise transformation. Thanks again for joining. See you next week.